Hello and welcome. This is the newsroom for Monday, January 18, 2021. We're broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN, and Tarsi TV in Bartica. These are the headlines. The Chief Justice dismisses one of the coalition's elections petitions and orders that GECOM hands over the statements of poll and recount to the High Court for safekeeping.
Well, I guess the registrar could try to make some kind of arrangements as to where they would be stored. I'm just knowing where our physical capacity here at the courts.
GWI's revenue increased by over $1 billion last year despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Residents in the Amerindian village of Moraikawai resist the health team conducting COVID-19 tests. And in sport, West Indies batsmen among the runs in warm-up and team corruption win state ball cricket tournament. With the news, I'm Neil Marks. We're glad you could join us. Chief Justice Roxanne George on Monday dismissed one of the APNU plus AFC's elections petition, but decided to go ahead with the other. Justice George said because former President David Granger was not served within the required 5-day timeline for doing so, and since he was found to be a necessary party in the proceedings, the first petition was declared a nullity and dismissed.
The second respondent has not sought to clarify what occurred, given what appears to be his signature acknowledging service, which is dated September 25, 2020. And I must say categorically that the document exhibited as the acknowledgement of service by Mr. Granger is part and parcel of the evidence and cannot be treated as mere surplusage. Therefore, as the petition 99P 2020, I declare that the petition is a nullity and cannot proceed for procedural non-compliance with the service of the said petition on the second respondent, who is a proper and necessary party. This petition is therefore dismissed. Petition 88P 2020 will proceed, and directions will be given as to the progress of this petition.
Meanwhile, the 2,339 statements of poll from the March 2, 2020 general and regional elections are to be retrieved from the Guyana Elections Commission and handed over to the Registrar of the High Court. Chief Justice Roxanne George said this will be done to allow for safekeeping of the documents, which will likely support arguments in the upcoming elections petitions case. She said these statements of recounts will also be retrieved and kept in the possession of the Registrar of the High Court. The Chief Justice is expected to issue an order shortly, which will allow for a marshal of the court to retrieve the documents from the Guyana Elections Commission. Justice George made the declaration on Monday, moments after dismissing the second election petition filed by APNU plus AFC. The coalition had claimed it won the elections but has refused to show how by producing the copies of the statements of poll it received. GECOM has the original copies of all the statements of poll.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Khan.
As it relates to the order that the court has just made, which is in effect an order to preserve the status quo of the documents, would the court be minded to consider one particular set of documents to be held by the court? And I specifically refer to the statements of poll, which are only about 2,400 documents. I certainly appreciate the court's view that the rest of it would be onerous on the court. But as it relates to the actual statements of poll, I was wondering whether or not the court would be minded to have those documents lodged. They're only, like I said, they're 2,400.
So you have those documents
lodged with the registrar in accordance with the application made by Learned Senior, Mr. Mendez.
Well, you see, you were saying it's only 2,000 documents. I'm not discounting what you're advocating, but well, I guess the registrar could try to make some kind of arrangements as to where they would be stored. I'm just knowing where our physical capacity here at the courts. And 2,000 documents.
That's a little under 5 reams, Your Honor.
Sorry?
It's a little under 5 reams of paper.
Very well. All right, I'll make that order. That's a good suggestion.
Now, cases of COVID-19 in the Region 5 community of Moraikawai are slowly climbing, but residents are resisting taking the test and are failing to comply with healthcare workers.
Well, we had a team, a regional team that went back into Region 5 on Thursday. That team also consisted of the vice chairman of the region, the chairman of the region, and other officials of the region, along with the health personnel. And the health people stayed on for the weekend, and they were trying to get as much people as possible tested. Unfortunately, I think there are lots of mixed messages that are still floating around in the community, and therefore the health team was not able to do much testing because, again, residents did not fully cooperate with the team. We were only able to acquire about 17 tests, or we were able to do 17 tests, and that's quite unfortunate because for us to get a better understanding of what is happening at Maracaibo, we really need to get more people tested. We would be sending in some more health personnel, and hopefully they'll stay, instead of the doctor going in and coming out, we'll send someone in to stay in for maybe a couple of weeks until we have this situation under more control. The community itself, they have medics and other personnel, but we want to reinforce that by sending in some other persons to ensure that we are able to get people to do all the right things. But, you know, these measures don't work if people don't cooperate. And while the chairman was there, I think we got pledges from the people that they would be working more closely with us. But unfortunately, when the chairman left, we didn't get that type of cooperation. So I'm not sure why, but we'll have to keep working with people because that's the only way we'll resolve this. As of today, the cases in Maracaibo has gone up. So as you will recall, the last time we spoke, it was about 33. It's now about 44 cases that we have there. And the more testing we do, I think we'll find a number of other cases. So we really need their cooperation if we are going to be able to offer proper assistance to the community.
There's more news ahead. Stay with us. This is the Newsroom. The Regional Democratic Council of Pomeroon-Superdam in Region 2, which started infrastructural works at the Saudi Public Hospital, rehabilitating an existing structure at the hospital to be used as a COVID-19 facility, is now completed. The structure, which was originally designed as the maternity unit, is now retrofitted and can accommodate about 40 COVID-19 patients. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony added that should there be a spike in Region 2, the facility should be able to accommodate additional patients. The facility can accommodate residents of the Essequibo coast as well as those from the islands in the Essequibo River, such as Leguan and Recanan. Chief Executive Officer of the Guyana Water Incorporated, Sheikh Baksh, during an interview with the Department of Public Information, announced that a strong and aggressive drive to collect revenues in 2020 saw an increase of over $1 billion when compared to 2019. GWI in 2019 collected $5.3 billion in revenue. According to the CEO, this achievement is remarkable despite the COVID-19 pandemic, which took a toll on persons' ability to pay bills.
Importantly, we had a very strong and aggressive drive for revenue collections, despite the fact that 2020 COVID was here, and COVID really took a toll on people's ability to pay. But we have been able to surpass, at the end of December 2020, we surpassed the revenue collections by 22%, a 22% increase in collections. That will mean that at the end of December 2020, compared to the December 2019, our revenue position improved by over $1 billion, which is, again, a good achievement on the part of the employees of GWI, and the customers out there also Importantly, the government also, the government departments paid up their dues to GWI. So that was a good showing on that side. On the financial side also, we have been trying to improve. It will take much more time because, our two main costs of running GWI is the employees. Employment cost, because from 2015 to 2020, September, the staffing increased by over 700 employees. So it's a hefty employment cost bill we have to meet every month. And also the electricity charges also has been very high, and debt has been accumulating to GPL. We've been able to make some payments, but still that debt goes up. And so we have to work very hard in the coming year or two to see how we can meet all of our commitments.
The police are yet to complete the investigation into the shooting death of 15-year-old Rocky Saw 2 months after he was killed. January 18, 2020 marks exactly 2 months since the teen was reportedly accidentally shot in his head by his best friend during a sleepover. His mother continues to call for justice and remains shocked at the incident.
When contacted by the newsroom on Monday, Regional Commander Senior Superintendent Kali Parashram said the file into the shooting death of 15-year-old Rocky Saw was initially sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, for legal advice, but was returned for the police to conduct further investigations. The DPP had also requested that a probation report be done on the suspect, 16-year-old Abdul Wahab. According to Commander Parashram, there is still some areas to be cleared before the file is sent back to the DPP. Saw's mother, Amrita Pandey, was too emotional to speak with the newsroom. According to the police, Saw was accidentally shot in the head on November 18th while he was at a sleepover at Wahab's Sandy Bab Street, Kitty Georgetown house. Wahab was arrested and subsequently released on a 100,000 station bail. Saw's family continues to seek answers as to why he was only taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital hours after he was shot in the head. Doctors had told the family that the teen could have survived if he was taken to the hospital sooner. The young man, who was a student of the Commons Lodge Secondary School, was shot in the right side of his head after Wahab reportedly broke into his father's wardrobe and retrieved his licensed .32 Taurus pistol, pointed it at Saw's head and accidentally pulled the trigger. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Isanela Patwo.
Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Dr. Vindhya Prasad, Monday launched the National Day of Prayer, which she spearheaded to promote peace and harmony. 15 religious leaders from a wide cross-section of the religious community participated, since it was recognized that there was an urgent need to partner with the leaders to help the most vulnerable and foster peace, love, and unity within the country.
Gaining the attention of all of us, and notably the one that is really disturbing to me is the one that I think should bother everyone. That's violence. Violence has been the forefront of so many media outlets recently, whether it's violence targeting children, young people, women, whether we want to call it domestic violence, gender-based violence. We must all be very bothered by it because it's claiming a lot of lives, and I think any life lost is one too much when it comes to violence. So that's an area I hope that you will factor in your work plan. I know it's virtually impossible for us to deal with everything, but violence, abuse, and social inequities, and also looking at how we can really effectively help the vulnerable populations when it comes to accessing opportunities and targeting poverty, because that is out there, giving them the mindset to not only grasp opportunities like training opportunities, but what do they do with it after? So you can see we do have a packed agenda going forward, and I am very, very action oriented, and I would like to ensure that this forum is not one that gets dormant. It must be an active, vibrant forum where we can really, really come out of the first 6 months saying that we would have achieved at least 80 to 85% of whatever you've set yourself to do.
When the newsroom returns, the financial weather and bridge reports along with sport. Welcome back. You're watching the newsroom. It's our sport, and we begin with cricket. As West Indies get ready to face Bangladesh in 3 one-day internationals, the first of which is on Wednesday morning, several batsmen got among the runs in an intra-squad warm-up on Monday in Dhaka. Avinash Ramzan reports.
Wicketkeeper batsman Joshua De Silva made a 50 and all-rounder Rovman Powell fell short of one on Monday when West Indies ODI team contested an intra-squad warm-up game ahead of the 3-match ODI series against Bangladesh. The warm-up fixture took the format of one innings, with the West Indies 11 posting 258 for 9 from the allotted 50 overs. De Silva and ODI vice-captain Sunil Ambrish added 82 and 16 overs for the first wicket before Ambrish was dismissed for 39 of 52 balls with 4 fours and 1 6. De Silva top scored with 56 of 69 balls with 6 fours and 1 6, and Powell cracked 49 of 40 with 4 fours and 3 sixes. Other contributions came from Nkrumah Bonner with 21, Jamar Hamilton 20 not out, Andre McCarthy 19 and Alzari Joseph 18 not out. Kyle Mayers 9, West Indies ODI skipper Jason Mohammed 4 and Raymond Reefer 1 all fell cheaply. Reefer and Akil Hussain took 2 wickets each. West Indies and Bangladesh will square off in 3 ODIs on January 20, 22 and 25.
That's it for me, Neil Marks. Avinash Ramzan has the rest of the day's sport.
We tell you now that lack of strike rotation is an issue that has plagued Caribbean batsmen in the limited overs format and to some extent the longer version of the sport. The Guyana Jaguars batsmen will come under the microscope again for such, and according to head coach Eason Crandon, the batsmen will need to arm themselves with more shots.
Fifth over cricket has transformed over the last 10 years, with teams frequently surpassing the 300 marker. Acceptable strike rates by these standards for top order batsmen are in excess of 85 and ideally close to 100. Looking back at the 2019 Super 50, only 3 of Guyana Jaguars batsmen who got over 100 runs had strike rates in excess of 90. In many matches, there were an excessive amount of dot balls, and Crandon feels as they enter the next Super 50, the batsmen will need to pull out more shots to increase the rotation of strike.
In our review and our reflection, we always look at things that went, that we did well as a batting group in the tournament, and obviously the areas that we would need to place more emphasis on or focus more on in terms of improvement going into the next tournament. We had a couple of weeks to do some work indoor. We didn't have a lot of time outdoor to do work, but we place emphasis on ways that how we can, find ways to rotate the strike. Not only by doing simple things as using your wrist or so on more, but also try to acquire, develop new, more shots that would enable players to, rotate the strike better and hit the spaces in the field better. That's a work in progress so far. We haven't had the opportunity to test that really and to see how we have grown, so far. But I think we're getting there. Also, we still have a lot of good experienced players with good skill that can rotate the strike, right? But how are we going to do better? Improving from striking at 60 and then get to 70 or from 70 to 80, right? So it's a work in progress, and I think, with good commitment during training sessions and so on, and then discipline, keeping the discipline, to ensure and the intent to do it, right? I think that's very, very important. Once guys committed to it and they're consistently, putting in the work to develop a specific area, then I think then we can get somewhere.
The Jaguars unit should be boosted by at least 2 international players, Shimon Hetmyer and Romario Shepherd. The former especially has been absent from regional cricket due to conflicting international schedules. Crandon sees it as a major boost for the tournament, which should prove very competitive given the quality of teams.
We have been able to field strong teams over the years, and this year is no exception. And obviously, we probably might be a little bit more, this team might be boosted a little bit more with the presence of the, and the involvement of the international players during our preparation, then into the tournament. You always appreciate those guys when they come back, from international duties. Obviously, when they leave us and they go, they learn different things as well. And then if they can bring the professionalism back into our setup, then obviously the younger guys, they're looking around and see how these guys operate. Once the attitude is good, and guys can feed off of that, and then it can lift the entire group together. So I think those guys have very crucial roles to play in our setup here, and once they assume those roles, I think we're heading in the right direction. We just need to put it together as a unit and consistently working towards getting better every day. And then once everybody's on the same page in terms of us achieving the championship, once they are hungry as I am, well, I think that we're going to do it.
While the majority of franchises named their 15-man squad on Friday, as of midday on Monday, January 18th, the Guyana Jaguars franchise has still not released to the public their squad for the tournament, which will run from February 7th to the 27th in Antigua. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
Alex Rodriguez came up trumps in both the semi-final and final and was the huge difference in team corruption, toppling favourites Village Rams in the final of the Stars on Show Table Tournament at Durban Park on Sunday. Akim Green reports.
The openers smashed 4-1 inclusive of 4 6s and 3 4s of 17 balls, which led corruption to a massive 117 for 3 in a 6-over slogfest. Captain B. Paul Bando, who seems a gifted talent in this version of the sport, backed up a semi-final bashing with a quick 18 from 7 balls, which added 47 for the first wicket. Kevin Sinclair added the final touches when he struck 3 6s and 1 4 in his 8-ball 25. Rams, who are the inaugural champions, reached their third final in the 3 years of the tournament, but were up against a tall order. To win, they would need to register the tournament's highest chase this year, and it seemed likely when Omish Danram hammered the first ball for 4 but perished off the next delivery. The danger with bat in hand, Urshad Ali threatened to overhaul the massive target with a top score of 32, hitting 6 4s and 1 4. Before he was run out, and so did the hopes of Rams, who reached 9-1 for 4 when their overs expired.
We're coming up in the final day of this competition. It'll share teams that will put out it all and teams that won competition before, so we know it's going to be a tough day for us. So we played all our hearts. Also, my teammates, as you saw, they played all their hearts.
I think we saw some very good cricket from the very first match even down to the final. A lot of runs scored, a lot of wicket taken, a lot of catches. So yeah, I'm pretty much happy the way things went down at the end of it all.
The winning team copped $120,000, while the runner-up were rewarded $60,000. Earlier, the first semi-final was a repeat of the previous final, but this time Rams topped V-Net Vipers. Vipers posted 96 for 4, led by Kemal Savory, who struck 6 maximum in the 16-ball 49, and had support from Richie Luke North, who made 15, and Raymond Perez 14. Irshad Ali then struck a blazing 6 and not out of just 17 balls to Rams. He struck 6 maximums and 3 4s and won the match with 2 balls to spare when 22 was needed of the final over. The second semi-final between Tarmac and Corruption proved to be another thrilling run chase. Corruption needed 104 and got there with 3 balls remaining after Bandu blazed to 37, hitting 3 6s and 4 4s. Rodriguez picked up where Bandu left off and was unbeaten on 55, hitting 6 6s in the score of 109 for 1. Tarmac's total of 103 was built on Barwell's 4-4 and Earl Gleick's 17. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
Now, Guyana's basketball officials are set to participate in a FIBA 3-on-3 officiating basics webinar presented by CONSTRUCTIVE. The webinar will take the form of 3 sessions on January 19, 27, and 28. Officials from Guyana, along with counterparts from 9 other nations, will participate in the first session on January 19, starting 19 hours.
The FIBA 3x3 officiating basics webinar is an introductory webinar to 3x3 officiating. This will focus mostly on the difference between 5v5 and 3x3 basketball, with the audience being both referees and table officials. Guyana is slated to attend this webinar on January 19th. in Session 1. The focus of GABF is to increase the pool of officials in our federation for both referees, table officials, and statisticians. With this initiative, it will help drive the overall National Federation Improvement Plan as defined in our strategic roadmap.
Meanwhile, with regards to the 2023 FIFA Basketball World Cup qualifiers, the new date is April 7 to 11 in El Salvador, according to Haynes. The Secretary General said all players who were shortlisted have been updated on their personal fitness development prior to the first session of training.
In reference to the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifiers, the new date has been scheduled for April 7 through 11 in El Salvador. The team will be making the necessary adjustments to begin training at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall. We must also iterate that we have not been given the approval from the National COVID Task Force to begin training in an indoor facility. All players who have been shortlisted has been updated on their personal fitness development that needs to happen prior to coming in to the first session. Both the federation and the national coach are closely monitoring the situation and will be able to provide further updates to our players, our fans, and sponsors on the progress of the training.
Now, the Indian seamer Mohammad Siraj claimed his maiden Test 5-wicket haul to dismiss Australia for 294 and set up a close finish on the final day of the series decider at Brisbane. Siraj made amends for dropping 2 catches, including Steve Smith, who top scored for the home side with 55, as he finished with figures of 5 for 73 in only his 3rd Test appearance. Fellow paceman Shardul Thakur also returned Test best figures of 4 for 61 to leave the tourists with a victory target of 328, which would be the highest successful run chase at the Gabba, a venue where Australia remained unbeaten in Test matches since 1988. The Indian openers Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill faced just 11 deliveries, reaching 4 without loss before rain intervened to bring the 4th day's play to a close. And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. My name is Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching.